Today we are in the middle of nowhere. We are about 15 miles east of Twentynine Palms. And today we're going to be going from Highway 62 outside of Twentynine Palms, taking what's commonly referred to as Old Dale Road all the way into Joshua Tree. This route is about 25 miles from Highway 62 to Pinto Basin Road. This is an easy road. It's one of our favorite runs because it's easy, although there are some difficult spots. We're going to talk about those as we get to them. We're going to show you all those tough spots. There's several very interesting places to stop along the way and interesting things to see, like old historic mines and that sort of thing. We're going to be making a GPX file for your GPS that you can download for free at our website, NotaRubicon.com, so that you can import that into your GPS and see the exact route. We're going to try to keep this video as short and concise as possible, so let's get started. Through this entire video, the GPS coordinates of where I am at any given time will show at the lower left of the screen. So if you want to check a place out on the map of a spot I'm talking about, you can just write down those GPS coordinates that are showing on the screen and punch those into Google Earth, and it'll take you right to it. As I mentioned, I'm also recording a GPS file, a .gpx file that you can download for your GPS. We will have that posted at our website, NotaRubicon.com. You can download that for free. No sign up, no email address, just click the download button and it is yours. There will also be more information on that page, GPS coordinates to the starting location of this trail and the ending location and all that good stuff. So we started at Highway 62. We're now on Gold Crown Road. And this road, although the name changes to Old Dale Road, changes once we get into Joshua Tree National Park. This road goes all the way through to Pinto Basin Road. And that's where we'll be ending this trail. You can run this trail forward or backward, so you can start at Highway 62 like we have today, or you can start down at Pinto Basin Road and run it up toward Twentynine Palms. This is an easy trail. It's a road, it's a dirt road, but there are a couple of difficult sections. We're going to show you those difficult sections so you can see how difficult they are, so you can judge if it's something you want to try or not. Now, this is a road. It's not really what we even call a trail. And the first 12 miles of it are all on open BLM land, which is where we are now. The road is fairly well maintained. It's very washboarded in a lot of areas and a little sandy in a few spots, but otherwise it is very well maintained. Because this first 12 miles or so are open BLM land, there are many places you can stop and camp along the way. Once you get into Joshua Tree National Park, you're only allowed to camp in designated areas. Now, the first about 10 or 11 miles of this road is just like what you see now. Flat, fairly wide most of the time. There's a couple of bumpy spots, we'll show you those. But it's basically just like this. So while we're going through this long and relatively boring section, now would be a great time for you to click the subscribe button. We enjoy making videos for you. We try to get a new video up at least once a month. And as long as you're clicking things, go ahead and leave a comment as well. Give us some feedback. Let me know what other trails you'd like to see. If there's bits of information missing from this video or the other trail videos we've done, give me some feedback and let me know. Those comments really help guide us into what kind of videos you want to watch, what kind of information you want to watch. We're doing this specific video today, Old Dale Road, because we put up a vote and Old Dale Road was voted the top trail that everybody wanted to see. So here you go. This trail or road is about 24 and a half miles from Highway 62 to where we're ending at Pinto Basin Road, and it is through the desert. So in the summer months, it gets extremely hot. So what I'm getting at is if you do this road, do not go alone. Even though it is a flat, open road, it's never a good idea to go alone. And I don't mean have your wife sitting with you next to you in the front seat. I mean bring another vehicle along with you so that if something goes wrong, you're not stranded in the middle of nowhere with no cell phone service and nobody around for miles. So do yourself a favor, don't go alone unless you are completely prepared to save yourself and recover yourself and walk however many miles through whatever the conditions are that day. As long as you're prepared for that and you make an informed choice to go alone, I suppose I'll give you a pass on that. But otherwise, the number one rule of thumb for off-roading is don't go alone. The big question that gets asked on almost every one of these trail review videos that we post is, can my vehicle make it? So let's talk about the types of vehicles that can make it through this trail. As I mentioned, it is a dirt road 90% of the way. And for the entire way, I don't even think we'll need four-wheel drive. So most two-wheel drive vehicles, any Jeep, any four-wheel drive SUV, all-wheel drive type SUVs and cars could probably make it through here that 90% of the way without any issues. It's that 10% though, that one section, and we're going to show you that section, that is very steep, it's very rocky. You don't really necessarily need four-wheel drive, but you do need clearance. So before you post a comment asking if your all-wheel drive Subaru this or that can make it on this trail, if your vehicle does not have high clearance, I would not recommend you trying it. And as I mentioned, there's a few sandy and rutted spots, and this is one of those spots right now. It's just a little washed out. We're actually driving through a wash, so the sand is really deep here. So this would be if you're in a two-wheel drive vehicle where you may run into trouble. This entire road is dry almost all year long. In the winter months, in the Joshua Tree section, it will sometimes get washed out and flooded out. We've driven through it times when there was 4 or 5 inches of standing water. So if you ever run upon that kind of standing water here, don't be surprised. Always be sure to walk it first, or throw a rock in, or poke it with a stick, just to see how deep it is. Standing water in the middle of the road is usually not that deep, but sometimes it is, and when it is, that's the kind of surprise you don't want. And it is very washboarded almost the entire way. So we aired down our tires. We didn't air down because we're going to be doing rock crawling or anything extreme like that. We aired down just to let some of that pressure out to smooth out the ride, because it is a rough ride. So I would recommend you air down the tires at least a little bit, but you do not have to. If your vehicle with a good smooth suspension, you may not notice it, and you might just have to slow down a bit. So airing down is not required, but it sure would make the ride a lot nicer. At about 12 miles into this run, we're going to be entering Joshua Tree National Park, but there is no entrance fee to get in there. Just drive right through. So what they will expect you to do is drive over to one of the official entrances, either over at on Utah Trail Road or the main entrance, or down at Cottonwood, the Cottonwood Springs entrance, and pay your fee. Sometimes as you exit, if you exit the main gate, they may stop you there, and if you don't have a ticket showing that you paid, you might have to pay there to get out, or I guess they'll hold you hostage. So just be aware, you can get into Joshua Tree National Park, quote, for free, unquote, but you are still supposed to pay your entrance fees. Experience level needed for this trail is very low. This is an easy trail. There is the hard area. Like I said, we're going to show you that. That's still coming up. This is one of our favorite trails for leading beginner runs through here. We've led groups of up to 50 vehicles through this area, and we've had flat tires from gashing up against rocks. We've had minor overheating issues, things like that, but everybody has always made it. But I will tell you, because of this difficult section that's coming up, we have had people not want to do it and turn around because they were new. It was their first time off-road, and it was just too intimidating to them. We all start somewhere. Most of us are not born being off-roading experts, despite what the people on YouTube posting comments say. We all got to start somewhere, and we got to learn. And this is one of those great trails to learn, because it's mostly flat and easy, but it's got some of those bumpy spots and rutted spots to challenge you just a little bit. That's also why we enjoy making these videos, to help you new off-roaders, because we remember how it was to be new. All right, we are coming up now on really the only noticeable extra credit spot on this trail. It's a little steep hill. It's right off to the right of the road. I'm going to waypoint it in the GPS so you can see it in the track file. It would be very easy just to drive right by it and not even notice it, but it's a steep little up and down hill right there on the right side. You see the road goes straight ahead, and you see that little bump there on the right. Now, it doesn't look like much. From here, you're probably saying, oh, that looks like nothing. But it is pretty steep, and it is kind of rutted, and it is a little loose. So it's fun to go over. I'm going to get some video of some of the other Jeeps here in the group going over it so you can see. Just a few hundred yards beyond the extra credit hill, we're coming up on another little play area, which in the winter months gets full of water. It's like some giant mud pits. So if you enjoy splashing your vehicle through mud, this is a fun little area. It's also a good camping area. We always see people camp there when it's not 105 degrees out like it is today. We're coming up now on one of the first areas that is not the most difficult area, but it is steep and it is loose. This is where if you came out here in a two-wheel drive vehicle, you might want to turn around. You can see it's a little rutted and washed out here. The road goes off there to the left. It's a little bit smoother there on the left. I'm going up on the right because I got a Jeep. And has that hill up ahead that curves to the right, which is a little bit steep, and it is a little bit loose, you know, sandy, and as you can see, a little bit rocky and rutted. Okay, now because I want to go over this slowly, I'm gonna go into 4 low. It's only because I'm a stick shift, and if I don't go into low, which means I have to go into 4-wheel drive, I'll have to go through it at 30 miles an hour or I'll stall it. So I'm going to go up here in 4 low, second gear. I'm taking the harder line. It's a little smoother on the right. Oh, and we got traffic coming. All right, we got traffic coming. Let's see if we can get out of his way. I'll try to pull off. As you can see, he's not driving a Jeep and he's made it just fine. Starting to cut over the Pinto Mountains. So it starts getting rockier, we start going uphill more. It starts getting rougher. You can see the road is bumpier here. So this is where it starts getting more exciting. As you saw on that last hill, when that truck started coming down, you know, these hills are blind. So don't go flying up one of these hills, because you never know when somebody's going to be flying up the other side. So always be cautious. Get out and walk it if you're not sure what's ahead. And just be slow, and bear in mind that even though you didn't see any vehicles all day long, of course the one that you can't see is going to be the one that you hit. Now we're coming up on 2 things simultaneously. Number 1, off to the left is the remains of an old mining camp with an old stone mill or an aresta. And then the road continues straight ahead up to the right to really the difficult section that I've been talking about all day. So before we go into the difficult section, we're going to veer off to the left here and just go a few hundred yards up this road. It's just one of those neat little things that you don't see very often and not in very many places. If you're into historical stuff and ghost towns and remnants of ghost towns and mining camps, it's just neat to look at. All right, so we're now coming back to the main road. We're going to be making a left turn now back to the main road where we started a few minutes ago, and heading up into the difficult section. So we're climbing up, we're going up to the peak of the Pinto Mountains for this section. And you know, I keep referring to this section, and it's about a mile long, as the difficult section. And when I say difficult, I mean that in the context of an easy trail. So an experienced off-roader with a lifted Jeep and big tires is probably barely going to slow down in this section because it's not extreme. It's, you know, as I'm driving here, I got one hand on the GPS and one hand touching the camera and another hand picking my nose. I'm hardly paying attention because for somebody with a little bit of experience like myself, it's not that big a deal. But if you're a beginner or you're not in a vehicle that doesn't have a lot of clearance, and you're not expecting a section like this on an easy trail, it can be intimidating, it can be scary. So I just want to make sure you understand before you come out to this trail, you know what you're getting into. I don't want to make it sound like it's worse than it is, because it's not that bad unless you've never driven off-road before or you've got a vehicle that does not have high clearance. Then it could be a bad day. So as we get further into this section now, we're getting into a shelf road area where it's very, very narrow and some drop-offs down the side of several hundred feet. So if you know me, you know that I do not like this section of road because of those drop-offs, but the road is wide enough so it's not, you know, you're not accidentally going to go flying off of the road. Just hope that nobody else is coming in the opposite direction. So as I come over this peak here, I'm looking down as far ahead. You can see the road twisting off to the right there in front of us, making sure nobody's coming because I do not want to back up this little narrow road. Now you'll see here it's bumpy again, there's rocks, it's rutted out, and this is where, if you've got a two-wheel drive vehicle, it's not that big a deal, but if you have a vehicle with low clearance, you may have a bad day. There are a couple of spots like that throughout this section where it's rocky and rutted. Generally, you know, it'll be a rough spot and then it smooths out and you hit another rocky spot. As I've said, we have personally pulled Subarus through here. We had a Subaru that started just behind us on the trail I guess a year or two ago. They started behind us back by Highway 62, and boy, they were on our tail and they were in a big hurry to get around us, so we pulled over and they flew by on that flat road at, you know, we were going 20 miles an hour, they flew by at 30 or 40 miles an hour, and lo and behold, we got up here into the last really rough section that we're going to show you, and there they were, not only stuck, something broken underneath. Their tune had really changed. So, and their issue, they had all-wheel drive, and they didn't really need the all-wheel drive. They needed clearance, and their vehicle did not have the clearance that is needed to get through this last section. All right, coming up on another really rocky spot. The rains must have gotten to it, so it's very rocky, loose and sandy, rutted, and of course we got that shelf road down the right-hand side, 300 feet almost straight down. Maybe it's only 200 feet. When I look, it feels like 1,000 feet because I don't like shelf roads. I'm in four-wheel drive because I have the stick shift and I need the 4 low so that I can go slowly without stalling it. But if you had one of those fancy automatic transmission Jeeps that are all the rage these days, you could probably blow right through here in two-wheel drive. You know, you're not rock crawling. It's just you got to go slow. All right, we're coming over the peak now of the Pinto Mountains. And I can see Pinto Basin, beautiful Pinto Basin coming into view. And when you see Pinto Basin coming into view, that is your warning that now, even though we're in the difficult section, we are now at the difficult spot of the difficult section. Just up around this curve is the worst spot of the whole trail. Again, for context, we're talking, you know, worst spot of an easy trail. So as an experienced off-roader with a well-equipped Jeep or four-wheel drive vehicle, this is not a big deal. But for a beginner in a vehicle with low clearance, or not a lot of experience, not used to doing this kind of road, this can be a really hairy section. So now the shelf road is on our left side, and as we come around the curve here, it's going to get really rocky, and it's going to be kind of steep. So we're going to be going downhill, we're going to be facing that shelf road, and we're going to be coming off all of these rocks and tough sections. So I'm going to mark this now in the GPS on the track as another tough spot, and then we'll get a little video of some of the other Jeeps coming through just to give you an idea what it looks like. So that was the hardest spot of the section, but that does not mean that the hard section is through. So once we come around that first curve and past this big pile of rocks, the road continues. It's getting steeper downhill now, and it's getting looser. And it's a little bit more of what we just went through. You can see some rocks here. That if you didn't have a lot of clearance, you'd really have to squeeze by on the left, meaning you're riding that ridge down the shelf road. See, that's a pretty big drop. My rear tire just came down. We're continuing on, levels out a little bit here, but that's not the end of it. Now, as you're coming down, you'll start to see on the left side some old foundation remnants and a big plastic water tank. That's what's called the Golden Egg Mine. It's a really neat abandoned mine. We're not stopping there today, but we do have a video of that mine, the Golden Egg Mine, that you can watch. We go inside and show you how to get there and everything. It really is a neat place. There's some very interesting old buildings there and equipment left over from the mines. It's a really nice spot to check out. And we're going to come up on another rocky spot. Again, you don't really necessarily need four-wheel drive. You need clearance to get through this section easily. And this is what separates the trucks from the cars. Even though on those Subaru TV commercials it shows them doing all kinds of fun stuff, you don't see them on this road. Rough spot, then it smooths out ahead, but it's a really sharp left turn, almost like a U-turn. And it's still steep. To make the turn, it's off camber, it's banked. So if you don't like going off camber, you're not going to like it. But at least you're not leaning off the shelf road, you're leaning into the mountain, so it's a little more comforting. And then more of that Golden Egg Mine comes into view straight ahead there. Back to smooth road. You might think, oh, it's all downhill from here. Smooth road, you would be wrong. So we come around this bend and you see some ruts in the road, significant ruts in the road. Even as an experienced off-roader, I look at that and say, the road is rutted. And it's a little rocky. This is a little loose. So coming down is not a big deal, but if you're coming the opposite direction, it could be a little bit of a challenge. And then as we come around this last curve, it's rocky, stony outcrops. There's some ledges. Again, you need the clearance here. Most Jeeps, most Wranglers will crawl right over it. Like that. But again, if you're a beginner, if you're in a stock vehicle, that's going to be quite intimidating. And that's it. We made it past the roughest areas. And that brings us right out at the intersection of the Sunset Mine and Old Dale Road. So if we go to the right, you can't see it. That's Old Dale Road going down to Pinto Basin. That's where we're going. But we're going to make a quick stop at Sunset Mine, which is up and to the left through that old gate that you can see. And we're going to show you that because it's just another really neat, interesting spot. Something that's really neat to check out. A lot of people call it the Flag Building. And when you see it, you'll know why. Because it's got a big California flag painted all over the side of it. And there it is. Sunset Mine, also known as the Flag Building. After stopping at the flag building for some lunch, we're now continuing back on what is now Old Dale Road. Most of the rest of the way is flat and easy, but there still are a couple of more rough spots that I'm going to show you. Nothing as rough as what we've been through already. So if you made it this far and you're a beginner and you're holding your breath, you can breathe now, because it's all mostly easy from here on out. And just several hundred yards past the flag building, as we're headed back kind of southeast now, we're going to hit the entrance to Joshua Tree National Park. You'll see the sign. I'll put it on the GPS file as a waypoint. Once we cross that border into the park, which you'll see the gate and you'll see the sign. Now you're inside the park and you got to put all your guns away, put your dog on a leash, follow the rules, and all of that. And now we are just past the entrance to Joshua Tree, and it's not super tough, but it's really rutted. Some times of the year, like right after the rains, it's really bad. A full-size truck might have trouble getting through here without scraping the back of the bed, or if you got a trailer hitch or something hanging low, that might be a problem. We're now coming down the back side, or the front side, depending on where you started, I suppose, of the Pinto Mountains. That is beautiful Pinto Basin in front of us. And as we get a little further down, off on the left, you will see, not in the video, you can't see it, at least not yet, but as you're driving this area, on the left or on your right, if you're coming up and doing it backwards, you will see some, buildings, some big towers. And what those are is the head frame, which is made of steel, of the Mission Mine. And I am told that the shaft at Mission Mine is the deepest shaft this side of the Mississippi River. So you can still go up to that mine. There's an offshoot, there's a road. We're not going to be doing it today, but you'll see the road that goes up there from Old Dale Road. And you can walk right up to it. You'll see all the mining equipment and everything is still there. It's probably pretty dangerous to be hanging out, but you know, we're jeepers. And the shaft, you'll see right under the head frame and all the equipment, is fenced off. So you can't fall in, which is probably a good thing. But you can throw rocks, small pebbles, through the through the chain link fence, and you never hear those rocks hit the bottom. So I don't know if it's true that it's the deepest mine shaft this side of the Mississippi, but it is a deep mine shaft. Okay, I'm coming up on some more kind of rutted out areas right here. Again, for most Jeep Wranglers, even stock Jeeps and 4x4 trucks, it's not a big deal. If you're driving the Subaru or the Honda CR4WV, whatever, that might have been tough if you didn't have clearance, but you probably didn't make it this far anyway if you're driving one of those. If you're coming up from the other direction, this is where you would probably be thinking about turning around if you had a low clearance vehicle. We're now well into Joshua Tree National Park. Guns are put away and dogs are strapped down. We're coming up on the intersection of Old Dale Road and Brooklyn Mine Road. You see the sign right there on the left. So if we turned left there, that would take you up Brooklyn Mine Jeep Trail. That goes up to Brooklyn Mine, another very interesting mine. We're continuing straight on Old Dale Road. And now for the next approximately 10 miles, we've got nothing more than what you see now, this basically flat dirt road. There's one or two spots that sometimes get washed out, as I mentioned earlier, so keep an eye out for those, especially if you're doing this trail in the winter months. If you watched this video so far, you obviously enjoyed what you were seeing, so please, if you didn't already, click the little thumbs up button so that we know that you liked this video, and leave a comment. Give us some feedback. Tell us you're there. Tell us you're watching. Just leave a comment that says hi. It gets lonely on YouTube, and we crave that feedback. Remember that you can download the free GPX file for this trail, Old Dale Road, at our website, NotaRubicon.com. No sign up, no email address. You just click the download button, download it to your computer, and import it into your GPS system. Thank you for watching, and we will see you on the trail.